Thanks for that, Sarah. I said that I wanted to go last so that I could just say, yeah, everything that everyone else has said already, and then I can just sit down. But I don't think Sarah would let me away with that, so I will tell you about our experience of going through the Mentoring Award, Standard Award. So I worked for the Rock Trust, which is an organisation that works with 16 to 25-year-olds who are experiencing homelessness. So that's here in the city of Edinburgh and 3 kind of local authority areas round about Edinburgh as well. And we, as part of the work that we do, we have mentoring projects within that. So we do group work, we do one-to-one support, we have housing where we can house young people, but we also have mentoring as well. We've been delivering befriending since 1993, and in kind of 2004 we moved over to mentoring and kind of changed our services slightly, just based on feedback from the young people that we were working with at that time. We originally went through, the same as Mark, we originally went through the Befriending and Mentoring Foundation's Approved Standard Award, which is quite a mouthful. And I suppose the benefit of that to us was that it was mentoring and befriending. And at that point we were kind of on the cusp of mentoring and befriending. Which way are we going to fall? What do we really do? Which one is it? So when we came to reapply, we had to kind of choose. We kind of had to make that stand of, are we going with the befriending award or are we going with the mentoring award? And we went with the mentoring award at that point. But we originally went through the Foundations award, and it was really hard. It took a long time, it was a lot of work. We had 2 staff members working on it, and they hated it by the end. They really did. It was one of these things you ask for volunteers in the staff team and they go, yeah, that sounds good, I'll do that. And 6 months later they are screaming and shouting because it's so difficult to do. Partly because we had that was the real review phase, so we were really at that point looking at, do we have a policy for this, do we have a procedure for that, how do we actually do this? So that it was partly because of that was the real first review that we properly had externally of the organisation. So when we came to do the award with the Scottish Mentoring Network, it was slightly easier because we'd already gone through that process. But what we found was you write a procedure or a policy and you put it in place, and then staff go away, and then you come back 3 years later and you ask the question, are you actually doing what's written in the procedure? And staff kind of go, well, we kind of do, but sometimes we do this and sometimes we do that. So it was great for us to be able to have that review point where you actually look at, are you carrying out the procedure that's set in place? Is everybody doing the same thing? So every young young person who's matched with a mentor, are they getting the same experience? Are all our mentors getting the same experience? Because they should be. And for us that was a great review point, to be able to say, yeah, we've got all the procedures in place now, are we working to it? And is it of a good quality? Is it good enough? Or do we still need to improve it? We had 2 staff members going through the award for us. One was a kind of a senior staff member, and one was a frontline worker who worked with the mentors and the young people. That was great, because I think if it had just been the senior, he would have said, yeah, we do that. And he would have written exactly what was in the procedure. Whereas because we had a staff member who delivered the project, being involved in that review, she would kind of go, well, actually, sometimes we don't do that. So it was a much better review. It was an honest review. Whereas I think if you just had a coordinator or a manager doing it, they kind of go, yeah, that's what we do. And sometimes it's not what you do. You think it's what your staff are doing, but it's not necessarily what your staff are doing. So that was really beneficial. Also, we had one staff member who'd also gone through the previous award. So she had gone through the previous one, and then she went through this one. So when I was asking her for feedback, she could say, oh, it was so much better than the approved providers award, because she'd already done that. So she could compare the 2 awards. So So the first time round we kind of looked at the kind of the policies and procedures. So when we actually came to do the new award, it was really more just a review of, are we doing what we say, which was really beneficial, really good for us. And it leads in, we have another kind of quality award in Scotland, which is around volunteers, which is investing in volunteers. And we were doing that around about the same time. And it was great to be able to have our mentoring service accredited to a really good standard of quality, and to then be able to take that and say, right, this is what we're going to base our other volunteering opportunities on. So, okay, we know we've got this good, this is of a really good standard, we're now going to use the information we have here and spread it out across all our volunteering opportunities, which really helped us for our IIV, our Investing in Volunteers Award, because we had a lot of the stuff there already. So for us as an organisation to know that project has been recognised as being a really good quality standard project was really beneficial for both staff morale, because they know that they're working to a really good standard, but also then to roll out the standard across the organisation. Our funders, it's really interesting because I think there's always a temptation from staff to think that we're only doing these things to keep funders happy. And you can't deny that funders do like having, being able to see that you're working to quality. And I think we're getting to the point now, certainly with the Mentoring Award, that funders are going to start raising an eyebrow and being suspicious if you don't have the award. I really noticed that a lot of the people, when we're competing for funding or for tenders, a lot of the people we are kind of competing against have got this award as well. And I think it will get to the point where actually people will be going, okay, why do they not have the award? And people will be suspicious of it because it's reasonably easy to do, it's a good price. So I think funders will start to think, well, why haven't you done it? Because it's easy to do, you can do it. There must be something funny. So I think funders will actually get to a point, I can already see it in Edinburgh, because Edinburgh, the local authority here, is aware of the award, and I can already see that suspicion starting to happen. And we have a very big funder in Scotland, the big lottery award, and I can see with them as well, that because they know it's there, and they know it's accessible to everybody, they're starting to get a little bit suspicious of people who maybe don't have the award, which is very interesting as well. It's great from the point of view of our mentors. Just check my time. From the point of view of our mentors, it's great because we have that. I think somebody had mentioned that before. That it shows them that we have a professional service. That we are going to treat them with respect. They're going to be treated the same as other mentors. We're going to safeguard their safety. We're going to respect them, and it tells them that before they even walk in the door, because they see that logo there and they know that a national body have kind of said you're working to a good standard, this is a good project. So it helps us in recruitment. The volunteer award that I mentioned as well also does that, but certainly for our mentors, for them to be able to see that we've been recognised as a good project definitely helps. So that's kind of all the benefits. Actually working through it, as I say, we've kind of done an award before. Staff really liked the new award. They thought it was much easier to go through. It was web-based, so they could just upload things electronically, which they loved. They thought it was really simple, it was logical, it was all the things that we do. So it kind of went through the whole kind of mentoring process. There was no surprises there. Staff didn't kind of go, oh no, I don't know how to answer that because we don't do it, or we've got this and that's not in the award. It was really obvious that this was a mentoring process, and we had everything that we could kind of prove that we were doing in all the different areas. Whether we were doing it correctly or not was a different matter. We, as I say, having two staff do it, you definitely don't just give it to one staff member. If you're going to do any kind of quality award, spread it about. We probably should have shared it amongst more people, but we did it with the two, and that was really beneficial. Sarah, Scottish Mentoring Network, were great. She almost took on my role of managing the project. I'm sure she felt that a lot of the time, because I just said to staff, go into it, please do this. And I would get an email from Sarah, so she would email the staff and CC me in and say, have you sent this in yet? So then I would straight away email them and say, can you please get this to Sarah? So she was almost like her project manager for getting the award, which was really handy. But I suppose that ties in with what Paula was saying about staff had other jobs to do. This was an added thing that we'd kind of handed to 2 members of staff and said, can you please do this? Without really thinking about their caseload or all the other work that they have to do. So of course at times it fell off their priority list, because a crisis would happen with a young person and they would deal with that, and they had time in their diary set aside to do the award, and that just didn't happen because a young person came in the door. Paul had mentioned kind of setting deadlines, and that's something we didn't do. Well, next time, absolutely. For each of the different sections, having a deadline would be great, rather than poor Sarah having to chase people all the time for her deadlines. And yeah, spread it and be aware that people have other jobs to do. This is an addition to what they're already doing. And actually, it does, it takes a bit of time. For all I'm saying, it was an easy award to achieve because we'd already been through the process with somebody else. It does still take time. Staff do have to think through, okay, what do we do there, and have to write it up and then go and find the evidence. So it does take a bit of time, and you need to accept that for your staff as well and give them support. Okay, I'm just trying to see that I've said everything that I had on my list. I can't reiterate enough that staff absolutely loved it. When I asked for their feedback and kind of said, how did you find this? They just went, oh, it was great. Especially one who'd done the award before. She was like, it was a breeze compared to last time. Yeah, I think that's kind of us. Definitely having a web-based helped. Just being able to upload was fantastic. Having it in chunks was great that you could just work through, and the fact that it kind of covered that whole kind of mentoring process was really good as well, because then you know that you're not. As a manager, it's reassuring for me to know now that staff are away. Obviously, we need to kind of keep monitoring that to be sure they are doing it, but know that that framework, that structure is there, that staff are working within, is very reassuring, and for the mentors and the young people.